that was me too. The chameleon. Just, kind of lick your finger, hold it up, which way's the wind blowing, and become that so that I would be liked and loved. And you know what? And not having any consciousness at all that that's what I was doing. The feminine is highly attracted to a man who's comfortable in his own skin, knows where he's going, and looks like he's having a good time getting there. Well, as you say, that's a quote of one of my clients. And one of the things I've said, that No More Mr. Nice Guy is autobiographical. It tells my story. I just used other people to tell my story. And yeah, that was me too. The chameleon. Just, kind of lick your finger, hold it up, which way's the wind blowing, and become that so that I would be liked and loved. And you know what? And not having any consciousness at all that that's what I was doing. That was just a reflexive, habitual thing that in every environment, read the people, read the environment. Because what I discovered when I started working on me, and how that began is my then wife, my second wife, said, everybody thinks you're such a nice guy, but you're not. You can be mean, you can be hurtful, you can be passive aggressive, you embarrass me, you don't follow through, I can't trust you, you need help. And I thought, you're the one's unhappy all the time. I'm always trying to make you happy. It's never good enough, but okay, I'll go get help. And luckily, I landed in some good places, that a 12-step group, a therapist, later a men's group that was led by a therapist who'd written some books on sexual shame. And I really began to see that shame. And that first 12-step group I landed in was just perfect, because I started going, every week I just share something about me that I never told anybody. A thought, a fear, a past action, an impulse, something dark about I just started sharing stuff, and then that continued in therapy, and that continued in the men's group. And that felt liberating. I'd never done that. I grew up with a critical, angry father, so, hide any faults or flaws from him, with this codependent, needy mother, so try to be the good boy, good man for her. I grew up in fundamental Christianity, so, hide any faults or, sins or anything, as if God couldn't see them anyway, but hide them from everybody else. I grew up during the angry feminism of the 60s and 70s, that every man's a rapist, an erection's a sign of aggression. I heard those things growing up, and I thought, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy that the women complained about. Oh, the men only want one thing. Well, it's not me. I don't want to be. So I was hiding so much of me, and I didn't know it. And I remember when it comes to this idea of shame or toxic shame, I didn't really even understand what it was. And I really didn't even see how it applied to me. I thought, well, that applies to you. You're the one that hates yourself. I don't hate myself. And so one of the greatest compliments people have given me about No More Mr. Nice Guy is Robert, thank you for the way you explained toxic shame. So apparently I got a handle on it somewhere along the line. But what I came to find out is that there are two types of nice guys. I thought every nice guy maybe was just like me. Had the same family experiences, same dad issues, same mom issues, same, how it showed up in the world issues. But we're not. We're all our own flavor. We're all different, but there's certain commonalities. Shame being one of those things, the becoming what other people want's one of them, the hiding the things. Excuse me. But this whole thing, around the shame, what I realized that there's two kinds of nice guys. One is I call the I'm so good nice guy, which was me. That is, I'm a nice guy. I'm one of the nicest guys you'll ever be. Why doesn't everybody, be a nice guy like me? Be, kind and generous and not angry and, go along to get along and all that stuff. And I thought I had this bank account built up of all the good stuff I do. Nobody should ever not like me, ever be mad at me, ever criticize me or, accuse me, because I'm good. Now, my shame was really tucked away, really deep inside in this airtight, locked compartment that I had no conscious awareness of. Truly subconscious, unconscious. But here I was, my behavior was showing what was hidden in my unconscious, i.e., be good, be good, be good. Show everybody you're good. Do good. Be different from father. Be different from Why would I be driven to be good, to do good, to see that as my identity if there wasn't something somewhere saying, you're not, you're bad, you're not good enough, you're unlovable? I wouldn't be doing it. So, my world paradigm and roadmap reflected the unconscious shame that I wasn't even aware of. I had no sense of my shame. Now, I thought all nice guys maybe were like that until I realized, listening to enough nice guy stories over time as I was, learning about me and writing the book and leading No More Mr. Nice Guy groups. I was leading like 5 of them a week back when I was in private practice in Seattle. And men were telling their stories, and I thought, well, there's guys that aren't like me. They tell stories of, being a fuck-up as a kid, getting in trouble all the time, getting punished, getting kicked out of class, getting sent to the principal, getting beat by their fathers, using drugs and alcohol at an early age, getting sexual at an early age, getting expelled, getting thrown in jail, being addicts. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound anything like me. I mean, their shame was right up here at the surface. They knew how bad they were. Now, I call them the I'm so bad nice guy because their shame is right here. And at some point, these nice guys had to come to Jesus meeting. They got in the military and got straightened out, or they got sober and got straightened out, or they met a woman or had a kid or had a family member die, or finally they just grew up, and said, I can't keep living like this. I got to change. And so they've worked really hard to be nice guys, to be the opposite of what they saw themselves as a younger man. But their shame is so close to the surface, they live in a constant fear that they're just 3 seconds away from being found out in any relationship, that any person they're with, any woman they're with, is give them just a few moments, they're going to see right through them and see just how bad they are. Now, whereas the I'm so good nice guy's walking around going, everybody's going to love me. Everybody's going to think how come everybody doesn't love me? How come all these women don't want to be my girlfriend? That doesn't make sense. Because, we think we're so great. We think we're so amazing. Both men are driven by shame. One's aware of it. The other's oblivious to it. And for both men to really do the recovery from nice guy syndrome, to heal, they've got to access the shame and start revealing it to safe people, letting it come up and get released, and not packing it around, inside of us, being afraid of being found out, and to get more accurate feedback as to who we really are. We're not bad. We're not defective. We're not unlovable. And everything that we might think makes us bad often is just like really normal stuff that we think, I can't let the world see that. So this process of the shame, whether it's hidden way deep inside or right up here at the surface, we still have to find safe people, a coach, therapist, 12-step group, men's group, some place where we go practice revealing ourselves so we can learn to be ourselves and not be that reflexive, instinctive chameleon. Yeah, I'm smiling, and it's not a fake smile. This was true for me and with so many nice guys, back, 20 years ago when that's all I did, when I was in private practice, day in and day out, sitting and listening and talking with nice guys individually, in couples therapy, in groups. And I'd break it down to guys. I said, well, let's talk about your needs and wants, because nice guys have been hiding their needs and wants because they internalized a belief at a young age. I'm bad for having needs and wants. People are going to get mad at me, or everybody else's needs are more important than mine, or I can only get my needs met if I give to other people first. I mean, just a lot of distortion nice guys have around needs and wants. And let's talk about needs and wants and making your needs a priority. And guys will either get this deer in the headlight look like, holy fuck, I can't make my needs a priority. That'll make me bad. That'll make me selfish. That'll make people hate me. That'll make me like my dad. That'll make me like all the bad men I hear women complain about. Or I get a blank look, kind of like, what are you talking about? What are needs and wants? And I remember I'd give guys a legal pad, a big yellow pad and a pen. I said, let's just begin by just writing down some needs and wants we can start paying attention to. They sit there and stare at the paper. No clue. Don't even know where to start. So, it's been so long since they even valued themselves in any significant way, because we've been, valuing everybody else. I think I say this in No More Mr. Nice Guy. a personal example that I think I pretty much let go of the embarrassment of it, but it embarrassed me for a while because I remember telling my wife, it was my second wife, before, I got the big stick upside the head that, you're not such a nice guy. You need help. I remember that my sexual experience with her, I was just true blue codependent nice guy. I just wanted to please her. I just wanted her to be happy. I just wanted her to have her multiple orgasms and for her to think I was an amazing lover, right? And I remember telling her, I don't care if I ever come, as long as you're happy. And, kind of after I got into some personal recovery and put that in a context, and I thought, I don't know if that's sick or sad or both, that, and it's okay to want your partner to enjoy sex, right? It's okay that they have a good time and enjoy it. I hope you do want that. But when you say, I don't care if I ever come, it's just as, I got no need, I got no want. Only thing I'm getting out of this is the external validation of you thinking I'm amazing, right? And so to tell nice guys, okay, let's make you a priority. Let's focus on your needs, your wants. Let's put you first. And they go, that'll make me selfish. And I go, okay, when I look up selfish in the dictionary, I want to see your picture. And, I said, well, let's redefine that. Let's call this a healthy self-interest. Because you cannot love anybody more than you love yourself, and you can't let anybody else love you more than you love yourself. Self-love is the standard of all love. And, which goes contrary to what we get taught in religion and family and culture. Oh, everybody else, don't be selfish, put everybody else first. Other people, come before you. No, if you don't put you first, you got nothing to give. Anything you give is coming from an empty bucket, and it is codependent in nature. You're giving to get. And that's why I talk about covert contracts and No More Mr. Nice Guy, of this way that nice guys give to other people, hoping to get something back in return, rather than giving to themselves and asking people to give to them and then giving from that overflow.
But you said something there. You can't love anybody more than you love yourself. Or did I say it right? Yeah, you can't love anybody.
And you can't let anybody love you more than you. Yeah, you can't let anybody love you more than you love yourself. Yeah. And you can't love anybody more than you love yourself.
That's the one, yeah.
It's math. It's pure math.
If you have no relationship with yourself, how can you truly have a relationship with anybody else? It's a beautiful statement when you think about it at a deep level.
Well, and here's the thing. We all know this. We all do. And because here's how I know it. No matter what culture you grew up in, we've probably all heard of something, along the lines we might call the golden rule or something like that. And, whether you grew up Christian, Muslim, Jewish, whatever, we kind of have the same principle. And, as you probably know, I was a minister in years past. I have 2 degrees in religion, grew up fundamental Christian. I'm not religious now. But there's a line in the Bible that most of us have heard, whether you grew up religious or not. And that's when the Jewish scholars came to Jesus and said, what's the greatest law? They had lots of laws upon laws upon laws. And Jesus said, well, that's simple. Love God with all your heart. And he said, second law is just like it. So that means it's the same. Love your neighbor as yourself. All right, love God with all your heart. Love your neighbor as yourself. Now, I think what he was basically saying, there's no separate self, that God, self, and other are all one. But that freaks out some people if you say that. No, you can't say things like that. But I think that's what he was saying. But he gave the standard for love. And whether it's loving God or loving your neighbor, i.e. everybody that's not you, in terms of a separate self, dualism identity, he said the standard is love your neighbor as you love yourself. That means the standard of all love is self-love. And again, the math is pretty simple. How could you love another person more than you love yourself? Mathematically, you can't do that. You can't give something you don't have. How can you let somebody love you more than you love yourself? Well, if you only think you're this lovable and somebody tries to love you at this level, you won't let them. You'll put up your guard. You'll push them away. You'll sabotage. You go, oh, no. You're the only one that's supposed to come here, not me, right? Only you get to have orgasms, we won't let anybody love us more. Well, we'll make sure that we love people at the level we love ourselves, and we only let people love us at the level we love ourselves. So the key of us truly being able to love and receive love, which is what we all crave, is to love ourselves, to work at loving ourselves. Now, that often is perplexing to most of us. Oh, well, how do I do that? How do I do that? And the way that you do it, I mean, the way that child psychologists teach us, the way that Jesus even said it in the Bible, you do it by giving to yourself, by treating yourself well. So, for example, it's as simple as, I wear something to track my sleep. I'm in bed. I try to be in bed by a certain time every night, get a certain amount of sleep. That's loving. I've been tracking macros now for 3 or 4 months and tracking my protein and what I eat and my calories. I'm as lean as I've ever been in the last 25 years. That's self-love. I'm eating healthy. I've been getting to the gym with regularity. I'm working out. I'm doing 30 minutes of zone 2 cardio a day, minimum, because I love myself. I get up every morning and meditate and do my morning pages because that communicates that I'm lovable. I'm worth something. I take Nala for a walk with my wife. That's loving to myself, to Nala, and my wife. I enjoy being out in nature as we walk. I connect with my friends. I just do things that are good for me, right? And that implies I'm worth something. Why would I get enough sleep? Why would I eat healthy? Why would I exercise? Why would I meditate? Why would I spend time with friends? Why would I spend time with my wife? Why would I do these things I'm doing with you if not out of genuinely being good to me? Is self-care. And the more I take good care of myself, the more my bucket is full and the more I understand what love looks like. Scott Peck, in the book Road Less Traveled, have your people Google Scott Peck's definition of love. And it's basically the will and action, so intention and action, to act in one's own or another's, he says spiritual growth, but it just could be best interest. Acting in your own or another person's best interest. So it's through doing. It's through doing good things to yourself, doing good things for other people. That's love. When Jesus was having another conversation, we're trying not to make this too biblical, but Jesus was having another conversation where he said something like, these people were saying, "Oh, I'm so good, I'm so spiritual, I'm so religious," and he said, "Well, I don't see you actually giving to the poor or feeding the hungry or helping the down and trodden." And he said, if you do that to others, you do it to me. He goes, "Well, when have we seen you poor or downtrodden or helpless?" And he says, "Whenever you do it for anybody." Again, he's teaching that non-duality, God, self, other. Oh, they're all the same. He says, so he said, basically, genuine, caring giving is what love is. Giving to self, giving to others. That's how you learn to love yourself, and that's how you love others, and that's how you let them love you, is by letting them give to you. Nice guys are terrible receivers. We don't let people give to us. We don't let our needs and wants be known. Every woman I've ever been with says, "Robert, you're difficult to give to." Right? I've heard that enough times. I assume there's truth in it, right? And I've had to consciously let women give to me. I'll be eating dinner with my family, and, I don't have a fork. I'll get up to go get myself a fork. My dad would have just said, "Mrs. Glover, get me a fork." I don't want to be like that. So I get up to get my fork, and my wife says, "Where are you going?" I go, "I need a fork." She goes, "I'll get you one." No, I can get one. I don't want to be like Dad. I don't want to be like the asshole, But what I've realized is that's how she wants to love me. She wants to get up and get me a fork so I don't have to, and that's her gift of love. She's even told me as much. She said, "Robert, you do everything. You pay for everything. You've blessed my life, the life of my children. I have everything I want. Let me do things for you. Let me show my love to you in these ways." So lots of times I'll be doing an interview like this. It wouldn't surprise me. I've got French doors on my office here, and my wife will come sneaking in and put a glass of coconut water on the corner of my desk. And that's her doing. That's her saying, "I love you. I value you." And you know what? I enjoy every moment of drinking that glass of coconut water because it's her expression of love to me. I let the love in.
I think what you just said there is huge, because nice guys are terrible givers for that very reason, because they're not giving from any abundance, right? They're not receiving, so they can't.
We're caretakers, actually, rather than caring givers. And the way I distinguish that is giving or caring is giving what people need to receive, and is giving from an overflow and abundance. It's not giving from our own empty bucket. Oh, you'll like me, you'll value me, you'll think. And it's giving what they really need. If they really are hungry, it's giving them food. If they really are downtrodden, it's giving them a helping hand. Caretaking is giving from an empty bucket, and I'm going to give to you what I need to give to you so that you'll think I'm all right and value me and love me in return, or give to me back in return. It's the covert contracts of the nice guy syndrome.
It's an interesting thing you just said, too, the giving and the receiving, because I've been saying lately, it hit me one day, I thought about the law of polarity because you brought it up, and I thought, giving and receiving happen at the same exact time. They're synonymous, two sides of a coin. You can't give without receiving. You can't receive without giving. So therefore, receiving is giving and giving is receiving, if done, like you said, by letting them in. And to me, that's a huge realization. Once I realized that, I was like, God, I got to let people give to me.
Yeah.
Because I did the same thing you did. Huh?
Well, I'll give you a couple examples of how this really hit me. I remember when I was dating, in my late 40s and 50s, I dated a woman who I met her when she sold me shoes at Nordstrom's. And so she worked in retail fashion sales. She had all of her life. And as we started dating, one time she came over to my house, my apartment, and I'd done my laundry. And I had a studio apartment, and I just had left my clothes on my couch. I was going to fold them, but I just took them out of the dryer so they wouldn't be wrinkled. And she comes in and starts folding my laundry for me. I said, stop, don't do that. I didn't leave that out for you to come over and fold it. She goes, oh, I like doing it. And she goes, I'm good at it. I mean, she got paid for folding clothes, basically. And so she goes, and I like doing it. So she starts folding my clothes, and she says, you can put them in nice stacks and put them on the corner of my bed. And she said, I won't put them away for you. And I go, I'm not going to put them away either. I'm going to leave that stack of clothes right there as a reminder I'm loved. All right, I said that to her. And you know what? I thought, from then on out, when I did my laundry, I left it on the couch for when she'd come over, because I realized it was a way she could show love to me. And it was more than that. It was a way I had to practice letting somebody do something for me that I could do myself. But she, if I'd done it myself, she would actually felt hurt. How come you didn't leave your clothes for me to fold? I would have robbed her of the pleasure of folding my clothes. I know that sounds insignificant, maybe, but another thing is I was dating. I came out of a marriage with a partner who did not like sex. She pretty much announced that regularly. Not before we got married, after we got married. And so after about 14 years of no sex, I got a lot of women who just wanted to have sex. And I was like, what planet have I landed on? And what I soon realized, a lot of these women took pride in their blowjobs. They gave good blowjobs. That, they felt good about, how good they were. And because of my discomfort, oh no, I have to give, coming out of that, both my own nice guy training, and I realized, who am I to rob them of the pleasure of giving good head? And so as funny as it sounds, it was part of my therapeutic practice to relax and let the women go down on me because they got joy out of it. So when you talk about giving and receiving are happening at the same time, they were getting joy out of folding my clothes, out of giving me a good BJ. And who was I to rob them of that joy and that pleasure because I can't receive. So actually learning to receive is letting somebody love you, is letting somebody get the joy and pleasure out of loving you. And if you don't let them, you're hurting them. You're hurting them. I know it's a weird equation, but it took me a while to figure out. So how about you? Well, how did you learn to let people love you?
Well, one of them is the sex thing was fascinating because when I first started having sex, I was numb and I couldn't feel. So I could feel nothing down there unless I was masturbating. Then I could feel. But if there was nobody in the room, I was by myself, I could feel. So that's how I knew it was psychological. But as soon as I would get hard as a rock and nothing. So I had to start learning to relax more and more. And I was terrified to let the women give to me. I was terrified to let them see me enjoy my own body. There was so much shame inside of me. It drove me nuts. And so in the beginning, I was selfish, I felt. But as I grew, I started to say, wait a minute, can I just let this woman, even if she doesn't touch me down there, like touch me anywhere and receive that pleasure? Can I let that pleasure just let's not go nuts with this, just a little bit at a time. You know?
No, you don't want to go nuts, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah,
a little bit at a time.
I literally didn't feel safe with women, and I realized that. It was really rough for me in the beginning. I didn't like sex. I began to resent sex because it felt like a job. And women didn't understand why I didn't want to have sex with them when they were smoking hot. I was like looking at them going, you're smoking hot. My body wants you. My emotions don't. And I couldn't grasp that. Now, yeah, it's the opposite. Like if you want to ravish me, whatever. I'm just watching. I get so much pleasure out of watching them have pleasure, giving me pleasure. It feeds my soul almost.
Yeah, we're having a spiritual conversation here, right? Most people are going, oh, this is pornographic. This is spiritual. It is the giving and the receiving of love. That's the basis of all spirituality.
And then beauty. I want to say something about your space. Like you have this beautiful space in the background. Every time I talk to you on Zoom, it's beautiful. And I realized when you said loving myself, that beautiful space is another one. That's an expression of how you feel about yourself inside. And then I created this beautiful home like that, and I gave keys to my friends. And I said, when I'm traveling on the road, because I was on the road a lot, use my home. Come in and use it. It's like, it's here to be used. And
well, I'll tell you the story. Everything you guys see behind me in this image. When I bought this house 8 years ago, this last month, this room was just a big white room. Didn't even have doors on it, no air conditioning, just a big white room. My wife and I got married in this room. Had about 25 people in here. And then I had a workshop I was going to be leading at a hotel here in town. The hotel said, oh, well, we found out we're booked up. We can't host it was a small hotel, and I told my wife this. She goes, well, why don't we set up this room for you to do your workshop? Why don't we set it up as an office for you? And still, the nice guy in me said, well, why don't we put your massage table in here as well? I'll use part of it as my office, part of it for your massage table, because she was a massage therapist. That's how we met. She said, hola, senor, want a massage? That's how I met my wife. I'm walking down the street here in Puerto Vallarta. And my wife, in all of her wisdom, says, no, this is going to be your office. She said, basically, your work, your book, paid for this house. Treat yourself and create your own space. Make it yours. I mean, that's a good woman, right? I thought, fuck, she should write a book. So I did, and we went about getting it ready to have a workshop in here. We went shopping for the furniture. I had an interior designer that I knew had helped me earlier in my life when I had apartments and stuff. I gave her a certain color palette. She picked the colors out. We got the painter to paint it. The whole house is in these colors. Every time I look at the colors, there's a red wall in front of me that I just love. I put art in here. We went to Oaxaca, Mexico, and bought rugs to put in here. You can see the rugs behind us, tapestry on the wall, those cushions, those pillows. Now that I've built it out where I also use it as a studio, my two 27-inch high-def monitors, my LED lights, my Shure microphone, my Sony headset, everything has been a way of treating myself well, honoring myself, honoring the work that I do, honoring the people that come here and work with me here in the office, honoring, this work I do sitting here. And my first tendency was, oh, I'll share it with you, dear. And she said, no, it's yours. Make it yours. And it's kind of like, yeah, that was a voice of reason. And yeah, I love it. I will just sit in here on the couch over there, and I'll just sit and look around my office at the artwork, the two guitars that are sitting here. A good friend of yours, who you were just with today, gave me a Gibson Les Paul guitar that's sitting here on a guitar stand. I look at the art I bought, I look at the tapestries, I look at the colors, and I just go, I'm blessed. I'm grateful. And I'll just look at the colors and feel blessed. Based on what we stored up and learned at our earliest age when we were helpless and vulnerable, how do we go from being reflexive to responsive? How do we get more conscious of how we react to the triggers in our life? How do I get conscious of when my wife gets that downturned look on her face? How do I get conscious of, all right, she got something on her mind, something's bothering her. Might be about me, might not be about me. And then I can then do some things to begin with what I call soothing myself. And to kind of go back to your question, what can we do? I have a 4-step, just little checklist mantra that helps me in the areas of life where I've come to see I have these reflexive reactions rather than a more conscious response to things. And it begins with getting grounded. And I know you're really into embodiment. I've watched you do embodiment with many men, and you're a master at it. And getting grounded is just getting solid on the floor. For lack of, I'm barefoot most of the time. I'm barefoot right now. And so like when I do interviews like this, anytime, I check in with my feet. I love that phrase, be where your feet are. I just check in with my feet and get grounded. If you take any martial arts, if you train in any sport, you learn to get your energy low or get solid down low. If your energy's high, you get toppled over too easily. That's true metaphorically, it's true physically. So number 1, ground. Number 2, breathe. Kind of going back to feel the fear and do it anyway. What's the best way to soothe your anxiety? Yeah, having that mental outlook, I'll handle it. But even before that, you got to breathe. When we get stressed or anxious, when we go into our sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze, there's danger, I got to react. Our breathing changes. That affects the oxygen, CO2 levels in our blood. And it makes our body change to where we can fight, we can run, we can freeze. We want to move ourselves back into parasympathetic nervous system, where we can calm ourselves. The cortisol levels go down. And we do that through breath, just nice, easy, diaphragmatic belly breaths. So you can do this I can do these 4 steps in a second. Ground, breathe, and then the next one's more kind of a psychological piece, open. Open to the experience. What's happening? What's rather than I got to fight this, I got to flee, I open to the experience. I learned this process again when I was doing the ayahuasca down at Rhythmia. Really, really good book by Byron Katie called Loving What Is. I mean, she totally rips off the Buddha and doesn't give him any credit in that book. Later book, she actually does give the Buddha credit for her philosophy. Loving what is. Okay, this is what's happening. We don't get happy in life by changing what's happening in life. We get happy in life by accepting what's happening in life, surrendering to it. So how do we open to what's happening rather than close around it, stress around it? And then the 4th part of my mantra is get curious. What's happening? Why am I reacting this way? Just curious, not judgment, just curious. Why is this thing happening outside of me? Why is my partner getting that frown on her face? And if I get curious with no judgment, it shifts everything. It just shifts my perception, it shifts my energy, it shifts how I can interact and respond to that situation. So this has helped me tremendously. It's taken kind of years of practice to ground, breathe, open, and just get curious. Not analytical, curious. This is interesting. What story is this telling me about me? What might be happening with my partner or that person that just cut me off in traffic or whatever it might be. Just get curious. And that seems to just shift the entire perspective of what's happening in that moment. I mean, this works for anybody, not just nice guys. So that's really powerful for me.
It's beautiful. It reminds me of embodiment. My old teacher, Carl, used to say all the time, just stop. And people would say, what does he mean by just stop? And he literally means just stop all this. But he'd say, to stop, you got to get grounded. You got to open your heart. You got to be able to breathe deep into your body and feel the energy flow through your body. You're saying the same thing.
Yeah. Well, probably most of us are all saying the same thing when you boil it all down.
All from different angles, yeah, and different directions. I want to talk a little bit about your other book, because you got another great book out there, Dating Essentials.
I got 3 other books, actually, but which we're going to talk about Dating Essentials.
Yeah, what's about? Don't know all your books. How do I not know all your books? There's something wrong with this.
I don't know, because if you were actually referring more of my books, I could go out and buy a new car. You paid for my last car with all the books you referred.
all the nice guy syndrome. I paid for a car, so we got to get 3 more cars because there's 3 more books, right?
Actually, so there's Dating Essentials for Men, and then Dating Essentials for Men, FAQ, frequently asked questions. And then another one that I co-wrote with one of my coaches, you may know him, Tony Endelman, is called The Big Stick. And it's just basically a really good overview of a lot of the stuff I've taught over the last 20 or 30 years. And so I co-wrote that with Tony. I kind of provided him with all the material, and he did the heavy lifting, and then I just got to edit and add examples and stuff. So Dating Essentials for Men. So you want to dive into that?
Yeah. And Markham, I give Markham credit. He did bring up the Dating Essentials FAQ today. So,
you know what? Let me get a plug in because I can. You and I were joking about product placement before we got going. I've got my T-shirt on for my men's membership program, my coffee cup. You got to get more product placement. They're in front of you. But
give me a big Integration Nation sign. I'll put it right here.
Yeah, I'd pay you for that. So but the FAQ, Dating Essentials for Men FAQ, it's probably my book that sells the least. Maybe just because it's just not that well known. A lot of people don't know it exists. And what it is, when I used to teach the Dating Essentials course online, I taught it for 10 or 12 years. And I do both written forums and live Q&As along with it. But mainly early on, it was just written forum. Guys would ask me questions, and I'd answer them. So this was hundreds and hundreds of questions and replies. We took them, I boiled them down to, just the best, about 300 questions. I think it's 300 or more, and down to about, if I remember right, about 70 categories. Kind of boil them down. Edited them, kind of flushed them out a little bit, did some, it was actually a lot more work than you'd think it would be to take something you've already written and repurpose it. But it was so much fun because it was me. It was like, these kind of conversations. Guys would ask a question about a very specific thing, and I give a very specific answer. Often it involves something like, quit being such a dumb shit. That's not going to ever work for you, So you get the real me, and with love, of course. I hit them with the big stick with love. And so there's a lot of questions where I'm just real. And I'd say get the Audible version of it because it's me reading it. And it's probably my thickest book that I've written published. Well, other than Big Stick, it's bigger, but, we'll give Tony credit for making that. And, I was in New York City. I think they booked like 6-7 days to record it. And I think I got it done in 3 or 4 days recording it. But I had so much fun recording it.
You're the reader?
Yeah, I read it too. Yeah.
Oh, nice. I love that.
All my books except Big Stick. I read No More Mr. Nice Guy, both Dating Essentials for Men. So I love the FAQ book mainly because it's just me getting to be real and blunt and upfront with guys. And especially if you hear me read it, it's probably even more entertaining than just reading it.
Yeah, I love it when the author reads. If the author's halfway decent reading, I'd much rather have the author because they know how to invest in what they're talking about, versus somebody.
No More Mr. Nice Guy, when it got published, the publisher decided to not hire me to read it and hired a professional voice. And the guy kept referring to covert contracts as covered contracts. And covert contract is a key part of the book. And he said, people go, Robert, how come you didn't read the book? They didn't let me. So just quick story. About 15 years after, it'd been out, our contract had long, we'd fulfilled the contract. It was probably for 7 years or whatever. And we'd done a few tweaks on the written version of it. Didn't really change anything, just, little edits and some corrections. And I told my agent, I said, listen, I want to read the book. And I said, the book's only available in North America anyway. I want worldwide distribution. And I said, let's get out of that contract. Let's end it and find me a new contract. So he did. He contacted the people who had the contract, and they wrote us and said, okay, at the end of this calendar year, the contract's done. About 2 weeks later, my agent sends me an email, forwards an email, and he says, we got an offer from the exact same company that had owned the contract before. And they said, we encourage you to consider their offer. Well, I'm reading it. It's from the vice president of the company. And he said, we've only done this one other time went out and let the author, we re-record it basically in the author's voice. And he said, we want you to read it. We said, Dr. Glover, No More Mr. Nice Guy are synonymous. We want it part of our evergreen catalog. And we want to offer you a $75,000 advance and $5,000 to come to New York and read it for your expenses. And I'm going, well, that's kind of a no-brainer. I just wanted to get out of the contract and get a new one, and I make $80,000 on it. Well, when it's in advance, they take that money out of your royalties until you pay. So, all it really did was just like boost my taxes up that year. But, I felt honored that I was just trying to get out of the contract. I wanted to read it. And they go, we want you so bad, we're going to give you $80,000 out of our pocket. And we want you to come read it. And we're honored to have you read it. So anyway, yeah. So that's how I got to read No More Mr. Nice Guy.
I think I need to go through it again and listen to you read it, because I think the last time I did listen to it was a different reader. I think it was whoever that guy was. Throw that guy out. He's out of here. So
yeah, when I was reading, I got teary-eyed. Just reading stories of guys that I knew about. I remembered. It was good reading too. Cause talk about being slow learner, quick forgetters. I'm going, oh fuck, I'm still doing that. Oh fuck, I've forgotten about that one. I think this is good for me to go back and read it, because I'm one of those slow learners, quick forgetters as well. All right, dating essentials for men. What do you got?
You said something in Dating Essentials that I think is that nobody ever says in their dating books, and I think it's so simple, and it's so simple it's very profound. And you said that fun. You were talking about fun, and you said the truth is that dating is all about fun. Kissing is fun, flirting is fun, holding a girl's hand is fun, sex is fun. If you can't have fun, and the nice guys don't know how to have fun, at least I didn't, or don't want to, you're going to have to change that. And I thought that's simple.
That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
That is simple.
Yeah, isn't it?
I'll have to go back and reread that book.
Obvious.
It's been a while.
It's so obvious, but everybody's trying to figure out how to get somewhere, do something, make something happen. Where's the fun? I got to get the kiss. It's so serious. I got to get the hand. It's so serious. How do I hold her hand?
I better not look foolish. I better not get rejected.
Yeah.
Think about it. Every relationship, I do remember I talk about this. Every relationship is a trade, right? We're trading something. We're giving something to receive, and they're giving something to receive. And often, I just interviewed Orion Taraban. If you don't know Orion, you need to talk to him. He just published a book called The Value of Others, and it's all about the economics of relationships. But really bright guy. He's got a great podcast too called Psych Hacks. So anyway, it's a trade. I said it a lot more simply in Dating Essentials for Men. We're trading something. So what you want, if you're a single guy, is you want a woman to come into your life in some way. Maybe you're just looking for sexual access. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you're looking for just a companion to go do stuff with. That's okay. Maybe you're looking for a long-term partner. That's good. You want something, right? So the trades and economics of relationships, especially between genders, they're varied and complex. But there's one thing I learned with women, and I'm going to make a gender generalization, and nowadays those almost always get you in trouble. But this isn't mean-spirited or saying women.
I say go for it. Let's do it. Let's not be politically correct. Let's go for it.
One of the things I've found is that most women have what I call a ruminating brain. They have a hamster spinning in their head. Evolutionarily, they're security-seeking creatures. Women have never felt safe walking the planet. They're less strong than men, less fast than men, vulnerable because they're pregnant or they have a baby. Even the whole hashtag Me Too movement was women's way of saying, we don't feel safe. Look, we get violated by all these people that should have been protecting us. Rather, they used us. They hurt us. So if you're a security-seeking creature, if you feel vulnerable, I tell guys, ask a woman if she feels safe walking alone through her own neighborhood in the daytime or nighttime. Nighttime, of course not. Daytime, maybe even feels a little bit checking who's around me. Ask women, do you feel safe when a guy's approaching you out of the blue? You don't know this guy. He's a stranger. You know what he wants. He's got a sexual agenda. You don't know if he's going to have finesse, if he's going to blunder, if he's going to be abusive, is he skilled at this? You don't know. So, women do feel vulnerable. And when you feel vulnerable, you're constantly scanning, constantly guarding, constantly. The mind is a predictive machine. What could go wrong? What could that guy want? What's the worst possible outcome in this situation? So, in other words, they got these hamsters spinning in their head. And especially when you put a woman out into the masculine world and say, okay, go get ahead, get your career, perform, all masculine things that many women can do very well, but they're out of their natural element. They're out of their feminine of being open and being receptive and connecting in the flow of love. And they can do it, but it keeps them triggered. My wife will sometimes say, I'm having a 12 hamster day, meaning there's 12 of those things spinning in her head today. Okay, so let's say you approach a woman and you're anxious and you're trying to get her approval and you're trying not to get rejected and you're trying not to, look foolish, get shot down, get beat up by a boyfriend that's around the corner somewhere. And you bring that anxious external need for external validation and try to get her to want to come trade and come be with you. Be your sex partner, be your companion, be your girlfriend. And she's already got these 12 hamsters spinning in her head. And you got 12 hamsters spinning in your head because you're so anxious and stressed and afraid. Why is that a good trade for her? How's she improving her life? How is she improving that present moment? But you know what? If you're just engaging with her and you're just being you and you have no agenda, no attachment to the outcome, you're just having fun and being playful and teasing her when you feel like and touching her if you have the impulse and, inviting her to come have fun with you, invite her into your great life, that's going to feel good. That's a break. That's an escape for her from all this noise in her head. When I was dating, I went through about a period of 12 years or so where I was single and dating. The majority of women I dated, I never saw where they lived. I never saw their home. A few that I went to, and they all came to my house. And my apartment was nicely decorated, had nice colors in it, had nice furniture, nice tapestries, nice alcohol, nice stereo, nice plasma TV. Remember plasma TVs? I had a plasma TV back in the day, right? The women loved coming to my house. They'd come over to my place and, we'd sit down on my couch to watch a show or do something. And they would fall asleep with their head on my chest. And they'd be snoring and drooling on my chest. I know that doesn't sound sexy, but what it was is they were so fucking relaxed for the first time, maybe in days, weeks, years maybe, that they were so relaxed and they felt safe that they would just, they're sitting there, and they'd wake up and they go, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm drooling on your chest. And I go, you were snoring too. and you just have fun with it and playful. Those women are going to want to get naked with you in a hurry because they feel so relaxed, so safe, so just comfortable. And for the women, I used to say that my apartment, it was just a small one-bedroom apartment, was like their Disneyland. They got away. They got to come to my house. It had candles. It had nice colors. It had a really comfortable bed with 600 thread count Pima cotton sheets on it. And how you say, good alcohol and beautiful art and nice lighting. And they'd come and they'd walk in and they'd walk around, their hands always out like this and go, did you do this yourself? They kind of knew that probably a woman had a hand in decorating it. And then they go, does it always look like this? Meaning, is it always this clean? That's why I didn't get invited to their house, because their houses didn't look like that. There was clothes everywhere. There were dishes in the sink, unmade beds. I had a house cleaner that came regularly. They loved coming into my world because it was fun in my world. It was relaxed in my world. There was adventure in my world. There was just anything could happen in my world, positive, right? And so I created that in my life, right? That's how I live my life. And I just created a space I wanted to live in, and I lived my life in the way I wanted to live it. And that just seemed to really resonate with the women. And, Chris Williamson has picked up one of my quotes, and I've heard him use it on other of his interviews, and it's simply that the feminine is highly attracted to a man who's comfortable in his own skin, knows where he's going, and looks like he's having a good time getting there. I'll tell that to female dating coaches, in interviews. And every woman I've told that to, they all go, they do that. That's like, kind of their heads go back, their mouth comes open, they go, they just sigh. Just that thing. Attracted to a man who's comfortable in his own skin. He takes good care of himself. He works out. He's grounded. He's embodied. He's not, exuding anxiety. He's exuding self-confidence. He knows where he's going. He's on purpose. He has passion. And he's having a good time getting there. He gets up every day like I tried to, where I love waking up in the morning not knowing how my day's going to end. I look for every day to be an adventure. Every day I leave my house for miracles to happen as I connect with people. I'm living that way on purpose, and that's highly attractive to the feminine. Because, again, most of them are in their masculine, having to take care of way too much shit, got the hamster spinning in their head, and we're approaching them going, let me play a trick. Let me do some hypnosis. Let me try some NLP. Let me do a poll question. She goes, I heard that one already. That doesn't, what are they going to, what's going to draw them into all that?
Nothing. You also said something here. We're getting on an hour and a half, so we'll probably have to end up here soon because I know you have to go. But there was one other thing you said that I haven't heard. I don't hear enough dating coaches say. You covered the security thing, which I think is so important. So important. You create a safe space. It's huge. And we could dig into that as to, why they like gold diggers or why some women become gold diggers because security, right? But there's one that I love is the over talking. I heard a natural once say, when I see two guys competing for a girl, the one that is saying the least is probably going to win.
Probably going to get laid.